Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better, more business-savvy designer so you can dominate your competition. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm getting into what to ask prospects before you take them on as clients. Some of these are actually good questions for existing clients with new projects, too. I decided to do a podcast episode about this because someone was recently asking about this in the Design Domination Facebook group about what questions should a graphic designer ask a client. So I wanted to share what I ask and why I do so. But first, let me briefly go over why it's important to screen prospects and ask questions before you take them on as clients. First, they may take you more seriously and see you as more professional, as in charge, more of an expert than an order taker. You are leading the process by asking these questions, and you stand out from other graphic designers who aren't asking these questions. But you're also less likely to waste your time on clients who aren't a good fit. You find out if they're serious or just shopping around because they're less likely to spend time answering questions if that's the case. And if they can't be bothered to answer these questions, how serious could they be about getting the work done? You should never care more about the project than they do. Asking these questions can also make you appear to be more in demand. By screening, you're saying, I don't work with everyone. The process of screening clients tests whether or not they are willing to abide by your processes, too. This is a huge respect thing. I've only had a couple of people refuse to answer my questions via my website form or via email. And it can be a sign of a client who feels the need to be in charge and tell you what to do, or someone who needs more handholding. And in that case, it's up to you to decide if you want them to go directly to jail or pass go and collect $200. But the other thing is that the information they provide will help you write a creative brief, which means you'll have something objective for your design decisions to refer back to. Now, of course, some prospects will see questions as a barrier to working with you. The more questions you ask, the more likely you are to weed out tire kickers, though, and they won't want to spend the time. But others will see your questions as simply information seeking, part of your expert process, and helpful to them too, whether or not they want to work with you. And those are the clients that you want. So how you position these questions is important too. I always tell them that this is part of my process and that by answering these questions, they will help me be better prepared for a call. I want the call to be productive. I need to dig deeper into some questions, not just me go spending time looking up their website and what they do. You want to find out beforehand if this would be work you'd even be interested in doing and have the time to do. Now, on another note, you may not want to ask too many questions as that could put off some good prospects. But also you make a more personal connection when you actually talk to someone and show a bit of your personality, which can help you get the work. So it's good to get them on the phone to talk about this too. So if you're not too busy, you may want to adjust which questions you ask and ask fewer of them via email or a website form, and then save others for a phone call. Now, if you get tons of inquiries, you may want to ask more questions. Okay, so now let's get into how to screen clients and what questions a graphic designer should ask a client. Now, I have a form on my website that potential clients can fill out and submit, and sometimes they end up emailing me instead, in which case I will send them the same questions via email. I want to find out some basic information. How did you find my business? What does your organization do? Like, what's your mission? What do you offer? Who are the main decision makers for this project? What are your main goals for this work? And what challenges have you faced in the past? What investment have you set aside for this work? And what is the deadline for this work? Now, notice that none of these questions is about how many pages a document or a website will be. None of these questions has to do with what colors they like. None of these questions has to do with branding, publications, or websites they like. At this stage, I want certain information, and I want to change the conversation from deliverables to problem solving. I have other questions that I'll ask when talking to them on a call, and then different ones for after I'm hired. But I don't want to give away too much or spend too much time on prospects or projects that aren't a good fit. Oftentimes, designers will only ask a lot of design-related questions up front, and that can put them in the order taker position, for one. But two, it reduces the perceived value of the work to the deliverable as opposed to the solution to a business problem. And the solution to a business problem has a higher perceived value than just the execution of the work itself. Okay, so let's break down each of these questions and why I ask them. Okay, so the first one is, how did you find my business? Well, I asked this because I want to know if they were referred by another client or maybe a colleague. And did they come via search or do they know me from a talk that I've done? If they found me in a search, I will ask what they looked up if they remember, because darn it, I want to know what keywords are working. And the second question is, what does your organization do? Now, this one might seem obvious, but the reason for asking it is twofold. It's one, are they going to just send me to their website to read what's there? And two, can they explain in plain English what they do? Because I'll tell you, I will still go visit their website, but most of the time I find that what they say does not make any sense to me. The ones who do provide an answer here sometimes explain it differently and more coherently than what's on their website. The next question is, who are the decision makers for this project? I have found that if the person reaching out is not a decision maker, then they are usually just shopping around or fact finding, and they're not ready to hire. The ones who are the decision makers, on the other hand, are much more likely to work with me and to do so faster. What are the main goals for this work? Now, I want to know this because this provides an objective basis for the work, and everything in the design stage is going to come back to this. So if they try to impose their personal opinions on the work instead of what would make sense for what they're trying to accomplish, I can refer back to the creative brief that I created from all this information that they provided to justify why that may not be a good idea. What challenges have you faced in the past? Now, I ask this because maybe they've had employee cuts or turnover, reduced funding or sales, or something else that would be helpful to find out about. For instance, I had a client come to me about a publication redesign. Sales had slowed down, and I knew from the information that they had shared that we needed to make this very technical publication more appealing and reader-friendly. Another client came to me with time and budget constraints and totally disjointed branding. And I knew that we would need to create not only new branding, but Canva templates as well. And that way they could use them themselves and save time by having them ready to go and with a set design. Another question that I mentioned is, what investment have you set aside for this work? Now, I do not like asking for budget because that is usually a made up number. I'm looking at this answer to see what their expectation of cost is, if they actually provide it, and if it's reasonable, or if they're looking for cheap, or if they might just need some education in this area. Because a lot of times I will hear that they don't know what it should cost. And then another question, what is the deadline for this work? Well, if the work needs to be done very quickly, I might decline it because it might be a sign that this person is unprepared and waits until the last minute. Or I would just charge more for it to get it done sooner. When it comes to qualifying these clients after they've filled out these answers, if the prospect has respected my process and I'm interested in finding out more about the project, I will send them a link to schedule a call with me. Now, I've said this before, I've only had a couple people balk at this, but only a couple, and I can't understand it because the only other option is to go back and forth and spend even more time trying to figure out a date and time, and it takes even more time if there are additional people to be on the call. So if you aren't willing to use my link to set up a call, which I will do by phone or Zoom, then I think that's a bit ridiculous. It could be a sign of a difficult client. Anyway, so once on a call, a lot of designers will unknowingly start giving away free brand strategy or discovery sessions at this point to demonstrate what they know. Like they need to prove something to the prospect about being good enough to work with. And what happens is that they often give the prospect a lot of clarity, again, for free. And I know this because I used to do it. Helping them figure things out is doing free work, and that's work that you should be paid for, but only after you've learned more about what they're trying to accomplish and help them determine if what they've even proposed is the best way to do that. So what ends up happening is that the prospect thinks that they don't need you anymore, or they wonder why you're giving away so much for free, and then they go elsewhere and they get it done cheaper. Again, I've been through this I don't know how many times. Now, once I'm on a call with the prospect, I will ask more specific questions about the project if they haven't already sent those to me, such as, can I review the content? Because I want to know what I'm going to be working with. Laying out hundreds of pages of running text, for example, is much different than designing and laying out a publication that has tons of infographics, tables, and sidebars, And then I'll also ask, well, what deliverables do you need? I also ask any other information that I might need in order to price the project. But if it's not possible for me to provide an estimate at that time, because let's say there's just too much up in the air, then I'll recommend a paid strategy or discovery session to help them figure out those things. The questions that I ask about the specific work also position me as an expert that I know how to do this type of work and that I do this type of work all the time. Oftentimes when I'm asking these questions, I'll hear, oh, wow, good question. No one else asked me that. Or, oh, we hadn't thought about that. And I love to hear that because that's a sign that I've just built more trust with that prospect and I've demonstrated that I know my stuff. And it could also be a sign that other designers didn't know to ask that, and that can put a thought in the prospect's mind about why didn't those other designers ask that? Maybe those other designers don't understand the work as well. If you want to find out specific questions to ask during a design consultation, get my free design questionnaire, 17 questions to ask during a design consultation. These questions will help you get more respect, charge more for a higher perceived value of your work, and stand out from other designers who aren't asking these questions. One designer who uses the questions in this guide, he said this guide has helped earn the respect of clients and they take me more seriously when I ask these questions. It makes me sound and look more professional as well. And they seem to be more willing to pay well because they feel comfortable dealing with someone who knows what he's doing. I can also feel they know that I want the best for their business and brand. So get that guide by going to creative-boost.com/questions. And let me know in a comment what questions you're asking prospective clients.